Priest versus Mage, Priest versus Warrior as well. Noblord actually came out to a 2-0 lead in the series. Chalky battled back against this Taunt Warrior. So this is now Noblord's third straight game on this Taunt Warrior deck, has yet to find a win.
Yeah, that's right. Chalky originally kind of lost by some ridiculous scenarios, you know, like I remember watching game 2 and somehow Noblord got like the Antonidas to stick, and then Chalky played like a Glimmer Root, got a Primordial Glyph, got like a Pint-Sized Potion and a Potion Madness. He was thinking about sealing the Antonidas, and then Noblord had the perfect damage to kill him anyways. It was really back and forth, and then now it's come down to this Warrior versus Warrior, and you know, Chalky already starting off with the Stonehill Defender, so getting off to a very good start in terms of getting the number of taunts in his hand, but Noblord has the same exact thing.
Yeah, the Taunt Warrior mirror is one we've seen quite a bit over the course of this tournament. Taunt Warrior really kind of spiked in popularity, especially I think after the success of Aggro Druid last week. You know, one of the very strong counters to those aggressive strategies. And this mirror match is very much about Sulfuros. It's very much completing your quest and getting those 8 damage hero powers rolling quickly, so you can hopefully overwhelm your opponent before they can get their own hero power online.
Both these guys are also kind of on the bubble in terms of their records. You see 4-2. I believe they're neck and neck in terms of tiebreaker as well. I'll have to confirm that. And remember, this is the final round of Swiss, so a victory here puts you in the best position possible to go into the top 8 cutoff, where we're playing for 4 spots in Shanghai. Noblord, kind of fresh off his victory from Test, but I believe you were commentating that while I was hosting that event. So Noblord finally actually has a tournament victory under his belt with his team, but he's still looking for that individual result, and he's been chasing HCT America's playoff run for a while.
Yeah, Noblord was actually one of the players who was a top HCT point finisher last season. He played in the last call tournament and didn't win that, but he you know, obviously accumulated a ton of points over that season, which takes a lot of results both on ladder and in open cups and events like this.
Yeah, in fact, he actually snuck in as a number 8 seed. You know, he actually played the entire summer and grinded a crazy amount of points in order to sneak in during his off season as a student at Rutgers University, and has since continued to stay in the competitive scene. Very much involved. He always does like prediction spreadsheets, always tries to help players prepare for events. So very much active, if you guys haven't already heard of what he's been able to do. Chalk, in the meantime, a very storied player already, has made it to the Winter Championship, and of course has also done many accomplishments across all formats in Hearthstone. Comes in here on turn number 5 with a pretty clear amount of good, solid minions to play if he wants to go on the cheaper route, or if he wants to play some of the 5s that he's drawn between Ally Armorsmith and the Direhorn Hatchling. Noblord already starting to get a little into the groove here. One of the things that he's known for is a little bit of the emotion that he displays throughout the time that he plays Hearthstone.
I actually love watching Noblord. He's so emotive. He'll be like laughing, and you know, we see him with his just hand in his head, clearly deep in thought, making faces at the camera. He's like, I don't know, was that right? It's great to see.
Yeah, and it's also very pure, because it's just kind of the thrill of competition for him. You know, Noblord says that it's not necessarily that he's trying to put on a show, it's just that he can't really contain himself when he's putting these high-pressure situations, and there's a lot on the line. You know, if you're able to get these victories, not only are you playing in front of thousands of people that are watching all over the world, but you're also playing for your own aspirations. You put 3 months of work into this entire run. So, you know, these guys who've been putting so much time and dedication, for some of them, it's hard to contain themselves.
Yeah. One of the really funny things about Noblord, when we were talking to his teammates, he actually was late to the championship for TESPA because he had an exam he couldn't skip. And they kept talking about, oh, you know, Matt did this. Like, wow, you know, this Matt guy, he was late. He slept through like one of your rounds. Like he, you know, misclicked a Hellfire instead of this. Why you put up with this guy? Oh, he's Noblord. He's like just super good.
Yeah, he was super caring.
So, but yeah.
Did you hear your joke or something? He's like laughing.
Just like, exactly.
Like, yeah, these guys, yeah, that's me, I'm Matt Noblord. Chalky kind of stuck in a little bit of an awkward spot here. You know, you don't want to give your opponent actually too much armor. Life total is pretty relevant towards the late stage of the game, assuming that they're able to get the quest at relatively similar speeds. And you can see that Chalky's prioritizing, you know, executing his armor. It was kind of like a triple threat there. You know, there's too much armor being gained on both sides, and there's too much power on the board. And you can see that he's starting to flood the board with his own taunts, pretty close to finishing his quest.
Yeah, there are a few things that are important in this matchup. There's actually getting out your taunts quickly to establish Sulfuros, and then having enough armor and health to survive Sulfuros hits if both players get to that point. So if one player gets to Sulfuros much faster than the other, they'll generally win because they're capable of just firing those 8-point hero power shots. But if they both get to it around the same time, very often the player who has higher life is going to be in a pretty good spot. Here, Chalky well ahead in terms of the race to Sulfuros, as Noblord is not quite to his own and already under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think while Noblord's at 3 out of 7, this puts Chalky in the commanding driver's seat because he also has a little bit more resources. I wouldn't say that he's necessarily up in card advantage, especially with Stonehill Defender.
Stonehill's a great draw for Noblord here, able to find him not a lot of great options here. He'd love to see, a Curator or one of the Warrior class taunts that tend to be a little bit higher power than most of the neutral ones you find. So it's going to be a very uphill battle for Noblord, but thankfully for him, he was able to generate a lot of armor from those armor smiths, and he's sitting at a fairly comfortable 47 total health here.
Oh. Yeah, basically going up to 50 health with the armor smith, guaranteeing him at least one more. So, kind of brings you back to the old Control Warrior days where you have an absurd amount of armor life, and Chalky's not gaining any more armor unless he has Armor Smith or other cards to give him the spells outside of his hero power. Now, the key for Chalky here is to hero power every single turn possible to try and maximize that damage because he does want to put pressure onto Noblord and generate a lot of resource advantage naturally by killing a lot of his opponent's stuff, basically for free. You're gonna slam to just cycle through. It rarely goes to fatigue, so you don't really care too much about the card draw in terms of how far you are of your opponent.
Chalky does have the ability to fit the Armor Smith into Ravaging Ghoul here, which it looks like is what he's going to do, which will get himself some armor and activate the Enrage on Blood of Brave. So he's going to be able to clear off this entire board from Noblord and get that hero power in to really start chipping away at the big armor total that Noblord generated. This is looking very bad for Noblord at this point.
Yeah,
but he does have Primordial Drake available next turn. Primordial Drake plus Sleep with the Fishes will clear off this entire board from Chalky and at least deal with the minion pressure. But unfortunately for Noblord, there is still the 8 damage hero power that Noblord himself is quite far from reaching.
Well,
he needs 2 more, I believe.
I think he needs 1 more.
This may have, I believe you might be correct. This may have been his 6th. That's actually good for Noblord here, though, that it went to face, because this does give him some presence with the Primordial Drake. When the players have this much life remaining, this much life and armor remaining, the board presence is actually quite relevant, because being able to continually connect with the minion will give you just that increased damage over time. And yes, that was his 7th minion in the Tar Creeper, so it will be Noblord's turn to Sulfuros, and now this is anyone's game. We see the Sulfuros hero power. It connects with the Curator, and that's crucial because that allows the Primordial Drake to get in some damage, and overall, Noblord still gets 8 to the face that turn and also kills the minion.
Yeah, and more importantly, too, he's keeping up targets for Chalky to land his hero power in. And now we're entering that phase where Chalky's just kind of looking to remove that 4-8. Noblord extremely happy that it dodged, and it just seems like right now the hero powers are going a little bit against Chalky right now. The Ragnaros is choosing Noblord as his Will of Fire.
Acolyte's a pretty good draw. It means that you can play Acolyte plus Whirlwind, then the Primordial Drake can kill the Tar Creeper, which will give you a 8 health Matriarch on the other side, or even the weapon can kill the Tar Creeper, probably better choice. And if this lands on the Matriarch, and I saw Pump of the Fist from Noblord.
All right, man, that's 3 good consecutive outcomes here for Noblord, and Chalky really needs some help here. He does have a couple of good tools at his disposal. He's got his own Sleep with the Fishes. I'm looking at Primordial Drake next turn immediately before he draws. Noblord kind of thinking about whether or not he wants to toss an Acolyte at Pain, but he is very vulnerable to a Brawl if he does that. Really agonizing over this turn, actually. If he plays a second Acolyte and his opponent doesn't have a Brawl, he sets up 3 targets for the Ragnaros hero power, only putting himself, or actually puts in a 50-50 situation where very good outcome happens. And thankfully he didn't, because Chalky just drew that Brawl.
Yeah, and also Acolyte can represent a small minion he can play alongside his own Brawls in future turns to potentially allow him to have more likelihood of the hero power connecting with his opponent's face.
Even though he drew the Brawl, and I think Chalky's maybe flirting with
We're in the
idea.
praying position right now.
I think the Primordial Drake still might be his better option here. Chalky holds back, just wants to reevaluate once again if he wants to use any of his other resources. But I think Stake with the Fishes and Brawl can still get much better value. Even though Noblord has a couple more cards, you know that he's going to draw at least one more with the Acolyte, either way, unless you Brawl it. And even then, with the Brawl, there's still some pretty bad outcomes that can happen if you lose that Brawl, and the Acolyte stays alive and you hit it anyways.
Yeah, Chucky definitely taking his time debating this decision and is going to go ahead and go with the Drake. And now, again, he's hoping this connects with the opposing Primordial Drake because that will allow him to get damage in.
There we go. Chucky's on the board there, and that was a really crucial moment. As if Noblord hits this 4-8, which he does. He keeps hitting all of Chalky's minions, and Chalky's starting to break a sweat here because he says before, okay, not that big of a deal. I still have a lot of resources, but because Noblord's able to hit 3 of Chalky's biggest minions in a row, the resource war has actually caught up for Noblord completely.
Yes, now Chalky, previously had a fistful of cards to not much from Noblord, but if you just count those minions in play, they're essentially around the same resources. So those 2 brawls from Noblord can also be very crucial later on because if he's able to whittle down Chalky's board, if he does develop multiple minions, which is often what you want to do when you're facing down the hero power, that can really break things up.
Yeah, that's kind of a big outcome here is Noblord kept the Acolyte, which means that he gets a guaranteed draw. Now, Chalky can kill off that Acolyte guarantee with the weapon, but what that does do is leave himself open for receiving a hero power plus even development on his opponent's side because he draws a card. So what Chalky doesn't want to happen is to get too far behind in the life total and then constantly have to make defensive plays in order to compensate for not dying. So he's going to hero power here first, it looks like, see if he hits the Acolyte. He plays a Stonehill Defender. He doesn't even care about the draws.
The Stonehill Defender here from Chalky does mean that Noblord will be able to generate more resources off of this Acolyte, and the Matriarch is actually a very good draw from Noblord. It is a big taunt minion that can survive a hit from the Ragnaros hero power. If this connects with the Stonehill, and it does, the Matriarch could come down. It looks like he's going to go ahead and use the Ally Armorsmith. If the Ally Armorsmith gets to connect multiple times, it's extremely powerful because this is very much about a race between your life totals.
Yeah, look, they're very even, 25, 24 health, and Chalky was very happy that Stonehill actually received that. That's probably the first minion he was happy to die off because not only was it receiving 8 damage, but also the Acolyte kind of deactivated in terms of being able to kill it. And now Chalky, once again, introduced with a position where he could try to spend some of his resources removing his opponent's board. He has like the Fiery War Axe, the Stake with the Fishes, the Ravaging Ghoul, but he chooses to hero power first to see what happens. Gets the hit on the 2-7, very crucially removing Noblord's ability to gain health. And now we're starting to get kind of even once again back on the board. Chalky introduces his own life gain mechanism.
This might be a brawl time for Noblord here. He doesn't have the ability to punch through, wants to get rid of at least one of these. If his Acolyte lives, it's huge.
Oh,
and it does.
My goodness.
See a fist pump from Noblord to roll the eyes from Chalky as Ragnaros is smiling on Noblord right here, I think.
Yeah, and it's very clear that it's gone Noblord's way most of this outcome halfway through these Ragnaros battles. We still have a little bit more to go on both sides. But, the Chalky needed some life gain. Like, even if the Acolyte was, was still around there, he still needed something to gain a little bit of life to make up that difference. To give him 3 extra hits from Ragnaros to finish the game off instead of 2.
Yeah, and now Chalky is finally war-axing down this Acolyte that he had the opportunity to hit before when he chose to play the Stonehill Defender. And, that Acolyte drew a card and won a brawl. All right, well, we're getting to the stage where there's just a couple of Ragnaros hits away. So now every single decision is absolutely massive, and the outcome of every single shot is huge.
Right, and there's kind of 2 outcomes here that I think Noblord's okay with hitting with the Ragnaros hero power. I think it's only the face for 1 because you could threaten to kill him next turn. But the Gastropod also introduces an element where Noblord's, no matter what he develops, is also going to be extremely weak and vulnerable to that. So perhaps Noblord wants to hero power first again, which is what both players seem to be leaning towards at the very beginning, and seeing the outcome and then adapting to whatever happens afterwards. And Noblord's kind of agonizing over it because I think he's calculating everything. He goes for it. Okay, hits the gastropod. I was kind of expecting to hit finish at this point because like Noblord's been getting a lot of great outcomes.
The second best. Second best
option. And now he can double develop here.
And honestly, it may even be the best result because of the fact that he's double developing large minions here. Obviously, the Tar Creeper isn't that large, but being able to establish these threats does force Chalky in a position where if he doesn't defend himself, he can actually just get hit by the matriarch, and it's nearly over as well.
It's a whirlwind, so another draw here for Chalky. It was looking a little weak, but now he's got another way to cycle. Albert doesn't even want to look.
It also means execute. Okay. So execute and sleep with the fishes would remove both of these. It would remove his own board as well.
Yeah, because his own Ravage Go. I think he wants to keep that alive at least.
Yeah, it's true, huh? So he could use his face here to take down the Tar Creeper, use his execute to take down the Matriarch, would be able to push a damage. It's interesting, the increments of damage that matter here is mostly, because most of the damage is coming from the Ragnar's hero power. So the difference between 15 and 12 from Chalky's perspective isn't that big. And now, Noblord is just one shot away from death, and Chalky has the board.
Yeah, Chalky has the board. I mean, Noblord has a brawl. He's asleep with the fishes.
Okay.
It gives Chalky a card, but it also guarantees a shot back at Chalky, put him at 4 health. He's still out of range of Fiery War Axe. But now Chalky has a 50% chance to just win the game right now.
Noblord can't look. Cover his face.
Where will it go? And now this is where the rubber meets the road. Who is going to go 5-2? Who's going to get eliminated?
So sleep with the fishes here. He could hit the Ally Armorsmith's. Oh, he can't quite get through with the life because of attacking the Ally Armorsmith gains Noblord life. So he can get through to guarantee the Ragnar's hit to the face, but it would not actually end the game. You see,
4-3
takes the shot. Ooh,
bricks.
All right,
off
well,
the rim.
Now it's Noblord's chance. Can Noblord get the fireball to the face, or will it be Harrison Jones going down?
I mean, Noblord picks up Blood of Brave. That changes nothing. He can draw off the Curator, and actually the Curator's pretty important because...
Oh, it is, because another minion...
Oh my god, he missed again!
So, if Noblord were to play Blood of Brave this turn, Chalky could actually attack into it, double sleep with the fishes, and guarantee lethal. But the Curator, because Chalky is at 4, he cannot attack it. He has to rely on that hero power.
Another Ragnar shot. Here we go, one more time! No! Right. And Noblord is he can't handle it, man. Now we have to go once again back over to Noblord. And he's at 1 health remaining. Ravaging Ghoul.
It's a 3-cost minion. You can play that with Brawl to give himself a 50-50 to clear the board.
And then he has a shot to win the game from there.
Even if he misses it, there's the Brawl. The Ghoul wins, and Noblord wins the game.
Oh my goodness. Game 5 is over, and Noblord, after a roller coaster of emotions, it's going to go 5-2. Is that going to even be enough to get out of Swiss, Brian?
It might not be. Both these players, you know, despite their epic struggle back and forth there, they were kind of in the scrum in the middle of the 4-2 bracket. They were not near the top of the tiebreakers, and only a few players from that position will make it through. But that was quite the game.
A little hard for me to just because, you know, I had Chalky on the board. But, I mean, when you have a game kind of exciting and back and forth as that, can't be too disappointed, I guess.